What's up, you guys? Welcome back to 100% Maybe. How are you, man?
Good. Great.
So we're going to peel back the curtain a little bit. We're doing this a little out of order for our rhythm. We talked about rhythm a lot. You like rhythm, we get in a good rhythm. This is not our normal weekly rhythm of this.
It's not, but it's more rhythm than I've had in a long time, so I like this rhythm.
So we're shooting this on the front side of even last week's episode.
Or last week's sermon.
So this will be done. I got some travel coming up next week. Didn't want to deprive you guys of a 100% maybe episode though. So I said, let's just shoot it early. We'll put it out.
I did not approve said vacation.
I know. Well, it's a good thing you're not my supervisor, I guess.
It worked out well for you.
I had to go around
But I did wear my VBS shirt, right?
Yes.
Because I didn't know if we were going to pretend like it's VBS week. There's no way we could have shot this podcast with 750 children running these halls.
That's actually true. We couldn't have done this
So this was an
anyway.
executive decision we made to send you on vacation.
This worked out perfectly.
That's right.
And I'm going to be thinking about you guys during VBS. I'm sad that I'm missing.
I'm going to send some slime to wherever it is you're going.
Yeah. I'll be up in the mountains. We have a little family trip planned, and I'm going to be doing that.
Oh,
I'm going to be waking up. I'm going to be waking up to 62 degrees every morning.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But we'll be here doing God's work.
Yeah.
I mean, in case you ever want to participate.
Hey, I'll be resting in God's presence. How about that?
Oh, sure.
Isn't that's a kingdom rhythm, isn't it?
It is a rhythm.
I'm taking my pastoral advice to get some rest.
That's okay.
Right?
Yeah. We'll handle the 750 children, man. We got that.
Y'all don't need me for that.
We don't need you for that.
No. I would just mess that up. There was something random. So I was going through our episode analytics. I do that from time to time. I do that all the time. But we are now can officially say we're an international podcast.
Really?
We have a listener in Iceland.
Yes.
So hello to you. We have a listener in Japan.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me.
The
we
Dominican
have a lot of folks,
Republic.
the military folks end up there. Okay.
Dominican
And
Republic.
The Dominican.
We have the United Kingdom represented.
Okay.
I mean, we are a global sensation.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And frightening. For
I don't
them.
know how,
I don't know.
If you're listening to this and you're in Iceland, I want to know how you found 100% maybe. Email me.
And listen, okay, you didn't tell me anything about this.
No.
I watch more reels about fly fishing in Iceland. Please, if you're in Iceland, please, I will make my way to you somehow, some way. It has made its way onto the bucket list. Iceland, yeah.
I've seen nothing but beautiful pictures and videos from Iceland.
The fish up there are insane.
Really?
The fly fishing is second to none. And I mean, it's not, you catch a rainbow trout in a river, it's awesome. You catch brown trout up there, they're just...
Is it just the topography and geography of it all to make it like
it's probably not overfished.
Yeah.
And just the natural resources and probably how they steward over that. But well, that is a squirrel we just chased right there. But I did not know this was coming. So emails.
Yeah.
Send me a
Hit
letter.
Us up. Yeah, we'd love to meet you.
Jeff and I will shoot this podcast in Iceland.
We would do that for
you. We would do that for Jesus.
Yeah, we would. Yeah. So anyway, just thought that's fun.
Yeah.
But the business at hand here.
Yes.
We're closing out our Questions of Jesus series.
We are.
Give me overall just brief thoughts about how this series landed for you. Any big takeaway?
It felt just like how we kind of talked about it, that it was pretty random. The questions rarely have anything to do with the answers. So which tells me even more that Jesus asked questions to make people think, because the initial answer is never the point.
Right.
And then maybe the most shocking thing to me is every time we would do a story, we would study some scripture that had a question. You realize there's 3 other questions in there, all of which we could have studied and looked at. So I think using a question as an opportunity to learn, as whether in life or reading through scripture, it's just another great way for us to process. People might say this is how God speaks to me. I see God in the sunset, or maybe some people hear audible voice. Maybe you just feel prompted. Jesus asked me questions, and they're usually questions like, how's that working out for you? I hear that whether it's in my head or in my heart so many
Yeah.
times over, which tells you I've already started doing something. And I'm not a person that just moves. So it takes me a while to get moving, but then there's the question of how's that working out for you? Is there something different I should have done? Or you idiot, like why are you in this situation doing that?
Yeah.
That's
I
the
think
question I hear
I get a
often.
lot is, what are you doing?
Yeah, where are you?
What is happening right now?
Right now.
But that, I know we kind of jest around that, but that's a real deep thing.
Yeah.
That I think can drive you to really live out faith and to understand conviction of the Holy Spirit, maybe. Because I do see that, and I sit with a lot of people that are kind of new to faith, and you see like, well, just listen to the Holy Spirit, and they're like,
what does that mean?
what?
Yeah.
How do I do that?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really good. The more time you spend, and the more, I don't know, I hate to call it study. That sounds so.
No, I mean, it's study. You're learning. The one we're going to look at today is about the nature of God. Last week, about the nature of God. This one does have something to do with the nature of God and His power over the wind and the waves and over those things. So it's study. I mean, we're learning about God, and then you take that study and you apply it to life. I mean,
Application.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The study can't just be
can't just be the
it
study.
can't just be the, I've learned some things, but it's truly the way that you implement them in life and practice and with others that it becomes something very, very real.
Yeah. So back to that question that I feel is prompted in me all the time. How's that working out for you? I apply that to every scenario. You know, my children, their relationships, my wife, how I've responded into a scenario. So it could be the presence of God. It could be just the way that I've built that in, the way that I remind myself that that we're walking with a very real person of the Holy Spirit. So you know, that's the question that I get. So
Yeah.
So the fact that we're doing a series called Questions, I don't know.
It's good.
What would Jesus ask you?
What would it? Yeah. That's a good thought.
For some people, it might be have you, you know, did you decide to love yourself today? Like, I mean, and maybe it is a direct correlation to the season you're in, the challenges you're walking through, and maybe you can prompt yourself to understand the nature of God and thus follow with the questions that will be pertinent for your life. I mean, those kind of a random thought, but I do think it holds water for us as we think about God and how He would communicate with us.
It's that deeper layer, asking the question either of yourself or you hear that voice in your head that it causes you to think about what you truly believe or what you put your faith in. And I know we'll look at that in this passage, but it's easy to tell somebody, hey, do this, this, this. The second they go, why? And you have to actually have an answer for it.
Yeah, you're like, what do you mean?
It can kind of cause you to be like, wait, I've never thought about why. You just do the things.
Yeah.
And so those questions can interrupt our just rhythmic pattern of doing and really start to understand and unravel what we're actually believing.
Yeah. And here we're on a random trail. So much of our life are micro adjustments based on faith versus based on our own triggers or based on what we're thinking. Because of human nature, the scenarios I've lived through in my life and the decisions that I've made, they're not going to always work out the same way for you. So even if I counsel you and I say, you should go do this, the moment you make that decision, you have a completely different set of variables. So if you've not built a baseline or asked yourself those questions or considered how God feels about it, then you don't need me telling you that. You need to start building and processing, learning the nature of God, asking those questions, building so that we can move forward. As we think about the disciples on the Sea of Galilee in a storm, they only responded out of what they had and what they knew.
Yeah.
And it didn't, I mean, it ended up being well for them, but it was pretty rough for a little while.
Right. Let's dig into it.
Yeah. Yep.
So this week we're in Matthew 14, right?
Yeah, not Isaiah. Let me get to that.
Not Isaiah. You want to get into Isaiah a little bit?
No.
Connect some prophecy?
That's a different sermon.
Okay.
One that we would love to get. We will get into at some point.
So 14, there's a lot happening. If you start at the beginning of that, Jesus finds out about the death of John the Baptist.
Yep.
That's a whole different sermon too.
It is, but it plays right into where we're at.
Yeah, you have to put into context what is happening here. Yep. Straight from that, he goes to feeding the 5,000. As soon as he heard that news about John, he left. Wanted to be alone. Crowds come.
Yeah, keep in mind. So the setting is that he's in and around the northern part of the Sea of Galilee. We call it the Sea of Galilee. It's a lake. It's a giant lake, 7 miles across. We just did this measurement today, so that's why I know. 7 miles at its widest point, 14-ish miles from north to south. So it's a big lake. But even still, imagine in the predominant mode of travel would have been either boat or walking or horse. So it wasn't, you didn't jump in your car and drive over there. So as he was working around that northern rim of the Sea of Galilee, he hears about John the Baptist. There's no time as a normal family would to go mourn and to spend time because everybody's piling in to be healed. So they do that, and then they move off to a place to be by themselves, and here they come, and then they get in a boat, and here they come. Everywhere they go, they are inundated with people. So it seems like what Matthew does is he starts to tell us the stories of what happens in between, or you can start to focus on those transition points. So really our story, I cut you off, I'm sorry. Our story is a transition from the feeding of the 5,000 as they go over towards where Capernaum is to get on to the next part of their ministry.
Yeah.
But it's almost like get away from this crowd.
Right.
Jesus goes on a mountain, he puts them in a boat.
Yeah.
So you're going away to the mountains.
I am. Not on a boat.
They couldn't get away. And I suggest we load 750 kids and take them to you. No, that wouldn't work?
No, that would not work.
That would not work.
Because I would go somewhere else, and I would just keep finding a way. I would go by, but I'd get in a boat.
I would get in a boat.
I'd get in a boat and go somewhere. Yeah. So do you feel like Jesus is really trying to be by himself for a minute here?
Yeah. He's diligently trying to find some time to spend with God.
Yeah. Morning, probably John, and he needs that. That is his rhythm. He needs alone time with his heavenly Father.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's something there, but also he doesn't stop doing what he's doing with people. It's kind of funny. He sends the disciples away. He's like, "You guys go. You go. I'm gonna clean all this up." So we don't know exactly what that means.
Feeding of the 5,000, which it was at the front side of Clint's sermon. Clint covered the 5,000. He talked about the 5,000, but then he focused on the 4,000. The feeding of the 5,000, predominantly Jewish. If you take this account, is found in Matthew, Mark, and John.
John, yeah.
Matthew, Mark, and John. Mark and John, they're much shorter accounts. Like you don't get all the detail that we're going to look at in Matthew today. But the feeding of the 5,000 was a tipping point, if you read in John, where the people that were being fed, they came to this realization, oh, this is the Messiah. Like, this is the guy. So you get this fever pitch change to where I think it even says that they wanted to take the consideration of enthroning him or moving him towards that route.
Make him a king.
Yeah, make him a king. And so when you get to the start of our stories, in Matthew 22, and I think in the other chapters, it says immediately he put him in a boat.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, we think of a sense of urgency, but it's more of a forced word, not just a time frame. It's he put them in a boat and said, go.
Yeah.
That's so important for the context of the story because of what they're about to face.
Right.
So was he trying to protect them from falling into the trap of too early in the ministry to be here? Did they need to get to the other side? Was there a storm coming and he wanted them to be right in the middle of it? I mean, I don't know.
Interesting thought.
You got any thoughts on that?
It's a divine timeline for sure.
It is a divine timeline.
Yeah, it could be he's something that he doesn't want to happen with this crowd. He wants them to get him out of there.
Yeah.
Could be he needs to finish with this crowd and be by himself because it says he wants to go up in the hills and pray. So he has to disperse the crowd. But we see that throughout the Gospels where he moved. People wanted to be there. People wanted to see what this was about. They couldn't ever get space and time for themselves. It was tough to do. So you said that there were always people there. So clearly timely. He's got a very specific and divine timeline of what he wants to do. So
yep. And these are not all of them, but many of them are fishermen.
Mm-hmm.
getting in the Sea of Galilee, man. We're crossing. This is not a problem. What we lose. I mean, now if you don't live in Iceland and maybe you live here in Gulf Breeze, it's snapper season. And what you know when snapper season opens is that there's going to be giant storms and huge seas. It'll be calm all before, but then
Right.
it turns into a nightmare. It's just what it does.
Yep.
In the Sea of Galilee, if you can imagine, and if you just want something interesting to do, go look at the of pictures that show you the topography of the Sea of Galilee. It's gentle sloping hills that go down to the sea, the lake, right? Like don't confuse sea with salt water. It's a lake. So gentle sloping hills. So at nighttime, it's pretty common for the heat to roll down that hill and to create some pretty strong winds on the Sea of Galilee at night. It just happens. So Jesus puts them in the boat before nightfall. This is a 7-mile paddle.
Cross, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even a cross. They're like cutting the top corner. It's not even but it's 7 miles across at its widest point, but they're still kind of hugging the shore and coming out. One of the stories tells us they're 3 to 4 miles out. So it's like right in the middle of their journey across. Is when they encounter this thing, but it should have taken them a few hours, maybe. So he puts them in the boat before nightfall. They're probably hoping to be there by nightfall or shortly after. And then our story shows up that they're in this storm in the 4th watch of the night.
Yep.
Which is somewhere between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Yeah, I think
that's a problem.
I think John or Mark tells us it's about 3. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sundial in that.
I guess.
Well, I don't know, but they know it's the 3rd watch, right? Or the 4th watch.
Yeah.
So it's 3 a.m. So imagine being in a boat. You thought you were going to be somewhere in 2 hours, and now it's, I don't know, I can't do that math. It's 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours later.
Yeah.
And you're paddling and you aren't getting anywhere.
Have you ever been caught in a storm in a boat?
I have been in storms in boats that I shouldn't be in the Gulf or also in the Atlantic. It's a pucker up moment. I mean, I tell you, your prayers tighten up. You ask questions like, "Why am I here?" And that's right. And then
what are you
God's
doing?
like, "Yeah, now you're talking." Yeah, I'm not gonna go into all those stories, but you're at no GPS out in the Atlantic.
It's a strange moment. We had several years ago before we moved. I got a couple of inflatable kayaks for my birthday. We lived close to a lake, not a big lake, but it was the only lake in Texas that runs north and south. So
Okay.
it's a sailing lake. And
you're in a kayak.
I'm a kayak. So we have the kids. I have one of the kids. Cece has the other kid. And the wind picks up like crazy. And these inflatable kayaks are
sails.
This is a
basically
sailing
just
lake. Inflatables. But we are fighting and literally are going nowhere. We're getting tired. And that's the only moment. And that's when I hear the story, or read the story, I immediately think of that. So eventually we had to just change course, go straight to the shore, and basically just kind of walk. We were able to stay, but hug the shore. That was the only way, because when you're in the middle, you're fighting. I mean, you're going nowhere.
Yeah,
going nowhere. So it's interesting. I want you to unpack a little bit, because Jesus is the one that sent them out here. So we can have a theology, or it's out there. If storms are happening, if bad things are happening, then that means I must not be doing something right.
Or the devil's coming to get me.
The devil's got me.
Yeah.
Or I've got some sin in my life that I haven't dealt with. So these storms, these trials, whatever's happened to me must be a result of what I've done or haven't done.
Jesus put them in a boat, shoved them out. I wonder if he did a sailors, or a see you guys later.
See you in a bit.
They get 3 to 4 miles out and they get hammered in a storm. Jesus put them in that storm. What do you do with that? I mean, there are people that believe that you become a believer in your life, that everything is up and to the right, no problems. Scripture is clear. It rains on the just and the unjust. So did he put them in the storm for this story to learn this lesson, or was there just a storm? I heard I've listened to a lot of more sermons today and yesterday than I ever thought I would possibly. And one of the quotes I heard was, if you know that you're in the right place and you're experiencing a storm, then you can enjoy the storm, as opposed to fretting through the middle of the storm. Right. And what that did is that brought me back to my dad, who used to we were the first ones to live in the base housing on Hurlburt, and the trees hadn't really grown up a whole lot. And you remember the old folding chairs? They were aluminum.
Yeah.
And they had
the little strips.
Oh, the horrible strips across them.
Super comfortable.
Whenever we would see storms coming on the horizon, he would take us out it was me. We'd go out and sit in the backyard, way out from the house, and watch these storms and watch the lightning aluminum is probably not, I don't know if it's a conductor. It's more of a conductor than being in the house. And watch these storms.
Yeah.
Why am I telling you that? I have no idea. But what was the point of that?
How we find ourselves to be able to enjoy the storm that you find.
Yeah.
If you know that's where
them.
you're supposed to be.
And I remember we enjoyed them. And I was probably good with it until, man, it was a flash and then a boom. And then I'm like, I think we should probably go inside. And Dad never showed any sort of anxiety or whatever. He just always enjoyed it. And eventually we would pick up our chairs and we'd go inside and live to talk about it. But those are some cool core memories that I'll hold on to. But, nowadays I look back, I'm like, what were we doing? Watching the lightning storm come across the horizon.
Seeing how close it can get before you're like, okay, probably now.
Yeah, let's just see how much God loves us. No, that's bad theology. Oh, that's terrible.
We'll edit that out maybe. So let's talk about what happens. So they're caught, they're scared, they're in this storm, they're not doing well. Jesus comes walking on the water. So let's talk about their response to that.
Yep.
Fear.
And one of them, in Mark's gospel, Jesus is just walking right on by him.
Yeah, it says
I love that.
He was going to the other side.
He wouldn't even get in the boat. He's like, which makes me laugh because Jesus is like, oh, those guys are struggling.
Yeah.
What's up, boys? And he keeps on going. I mean, it's almost how it feels like.
Yeah.
Like he's just strolling on by them in the middle of the storm and they're freaking out. It's a ghost. All of them have a response where they look and they see Jesus and they think it's a ghost. I've not done any research on what that their interpretation of what that would have been like.
Right.
But they're scared. So they're pretty panicked about it.
Rightfully so, probably.
Yeah, rightfully so. And then he stops and he comes over and then in our text is where you get fear is the driver of it.
Yeah, because in 27 he spoke to them and he says, "Don't be afraid. Take courage. I am here." You get an I am statement,
it's one of the I am statements.
I am.
I am.
He's here.
Mm-hmm.
So with that declaration of who I am and I'm here with you, he says, "Don't be afraid." That's the encouragement or the command.
Are there moments in life where we're in a storm and we see Jesus and it scares us because we don't recognize it as Jesus? Are there moments in life right now that you're looking around and you just life, the storms have caused you great fear and maybe you're not able to see what God is doing in these moments? I think it's a real good question to ask yourself, right? As you're wrestling through the fact that maybe this storm wasn't of your own doing, could be. Maybe it's a storm. Maybe Jesus put you in the storm. Maybe you'll encounter someone in this, or faith will grow to a place in this storm that will prepare you for whatever's ahead. I don't know.
Yep.
But they're scared.
They are.
Yeah.
And he speaks to it.
He does.
Tells them not to be.
Don't be afraid.
Because why? I am. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. So let's talk about Peter.
Oh, Peter.
Okay, so if this is you're in that boat, you're out trying to get a snapper, and you see Jesus, and he says, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Is your first thought, "I'm getting out of the boat. I'm walking on this water"?
No, mine is,
no?
You got any Dramamine? I'd be looking for some drugs to not throw up, not drugs. It's not that podcast. No. But yeah, Peter is so interesting, isn't he? This guy.
Is.
I have to ask, you and I laughed about this earlier, but this is Matthew telling us about this. Mark's gospel would have been Peter's telling of the story. He doesn't tell us anything about Peter. You would assume that John would, because John, anytime Peter did something embarrassing, he immediately tells you about it. He doesn't tell you about Peter.
Yeah.
And you think he would have, because Peter sinks, right, in this story. But maybe he also didn't want to give him credit for walking on the water.
Right.
So there's kind of that.
Would it be too much of a, because he's the only one that is spurred to whatever this is, this moment of faith or stepping out into the unknown, which can be metaphorical, but we get that too. That could resonate with us about doing something that you're not comfortable doing, but you're doing it because you know Jesus is on the other side of that.
Yeah.
So there could be, but it is interesting. Do you have any thoughts on
I can make something up. I
Make
mean,
it
I
up.
wonder with Matthew, he's writing this to a Jewish persuasion, can control over the wind and waves. So maybe this is a larger connection to the God of creation, and his control. Why put Peter in there? Maybe because of Peter's influence and responsibility, and maybe it's just that story stuck to Matthew.
Yeah.
Matthew was not a fisherman, so he would have been one in the boat that had not probably experienced this.
Right.
And then some
He's
dude
like,
walks
"Hey."
on water. He's a bean counter, and so he's like, that guy just walked on water.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't make any sense.
I just thought about this for the first time this morning, of course, thinking about this thought, but I wonder too if it's a very humble and deep in his faith Peter, and he didn't want to make this story about himself when he's
As in Mark?
Yep. The Mark inclusion, that he just wanted it to be about Jesus.
Because Peter's so humble.
He didn't
Maybe.
used to be.
We are 100% maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. Mark might also not even have got that part of the story.
Yeah.
And,
He might have been, yeah.
And maybe in a sense, we celebrate it as he walked on water, and we all talk about how, yeah, he's the only one ever to do it. Maybe it wasn't that spectacular. Maybe he did it and it sunk, and it was pretty embarrassing. Could have been embarrassing for him.
Couple steps.
Yeah,
that
could have
was
been
it.
embarrassing for him.
Yeah. So let's talk about what happened, because I know you have a thought on to how this will not preach or will preach, but we see this. We've probably heard a million sermons about it. Jesus says, "Come on,
let's go."
So he rewards the step of obedience. All right, come on,
come get you
come
some.
to me. He starts to do it. Peter does it. Jesus holds out his hand. When he sees Jesus, he's good. He's doing it. When he takes his eyes off Jesus, he looks around. Fear sets in. He sinks.
Yeah, it's the most metaphorical sermon. It's a setup for every preacher. As long as you keep your eyes on Jesus, you
Keep your
won't
eyes
sink.
fixed on
As
Jesus.
if the main point of the sermon was we should all be walking on water, right? What's that ocean song?
Yeah.
Oh man, is that about this? Is that about this, or is it maybe
It's about stepping into the unknown a bit. I think stepping out into your faith, where God would call you. But yes, the imagery of all that whole song is, "You call me out upon the waters."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm banging a phrase around in my head. I don't know really what to say. You and I talked about it a little earlier. Thank God Peter didn't get in the water and start moonwalking around and dance and like super successful at walking on water, because that would have been ridiculous. We would have all been like, man, well, our faith stinks.
Right.
Or we should be doing this. I love the fact that dude sank
like a rock.
Yeah. I mean, if we all thought about it and processed through, there are times when in great faith, we were able to be a part of or accomplish or see something that we probably typically wouldn't have done. Maybe not walk on water, but because of our faith. I think maybe we can connect to this in some degree, where we recognize that point, changing the supernatural flow of things and allowing something that shouldn't walk on water to walk on water. Maybe that's a stretch in that sense, but I love the fact that he sank, even though he did it. I mean, I love that he did it, because it does speak to that. And then I love that he hit the deck, because if he would have got out and then Jesus and Peter would have just strolled on across the rest of the water, well, that'd be so hard to preach.
It'd be hard to live up to.
It'd be hard. That's what I mean. It'd be hard to live up to. And we're talking about the guy who denied Jesus, like all of those pieces that are there. So I don't think this is about us having enough faith that we can surpass the natural order of things. I don't think this is that message. I think this has to get back into the fact that Jesus is I am. He called him out onto the waters. He went, he experienced this great moment of faith, but then humanity sets in, which is really where we are. So maybe it's a reminder that we are not God. And then Jesus saves. So still there's a picture, just like in this sermon, Jesus and the woman caught in adultery. It's a picture of Jesus present in the storm to save us when we're going down. So there's still kind of a salvation message that's there.
For sure. You've said it a couple times. his presence.
Yeah.
And I think just in the course of your talking, I don't think it's like a major point you're making, but I see it as coming
Sure.
back to that, because in the fear, God doesn't meet us with explanations usually. He doesn't talk through it. He doesn't sit down and say, "Okay, boys, let me tell you why this happened." But he meets us with his presence.
Yeah.
And I think there's something way more beautiful and powerful about that. But let's get to the question, though. Not to
We should
bury the
probably do
lead.
that. Yeah.
The question, because you brought it up a little bit with doubt. I want to talk about that a little bit with faith and doubt. You have so little faith. Question: Why did you doubt? Why did you doubt me, or why do you doubt?
Yeah, he doesn't answer that question, does he?
He doesn't have an answer, probably. But it's one of those questions that I'm assuming made him wrestle with who he believed Jesus to be. And I think they all have this moment, a moment of clarity, which we know is fleeting for them, for us, that they end up worshiping him. They exclaim, "This, you really are the Son of God." What they've seen, they just saw him feed 5,000 people. They're seeing things they've never seen before. And it causes them to have this declaration in this moment of understanding. But faith and doubt, are those two things opposing thoughts, opposing beliefs?
You have a thought on that? I'm gonna let you go with that, because I think that's a great question that we all need to resolve. Because I tend to agree with you. I'll let you talk about that for a second.
Well, I was just thinking about it. I think we tend to think of faith and doubt being the two sides of the coin. I think the other side of faith is fear, not doubt, because I think you do wrestle with doubt. I'm thinking about scriptures where he says, "Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief."
Right.
So you see, wrestling with doubt, I don't think is a marker of not believing.
Right.
I think it's a marker of
Humanity.
Yep.
That's what I would say.
And fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
I think that's truly what is our main problem. Is we talk about this a lot. We want to be in control, and we want to know all the things that God knows. That's from day one. That's been our problem.
Yeah,
You want this knowledge. God says you don't want this knowledge. We say, no, we do. We want to know all the
Give
things.
it to us.
And then we have it, and we say, we can't. What do we do with this?
Yeah.
And God says, exactly.
I told you.
You don't want this.
Yeah.
And that coin, but I see people wrestle with doubt in a sense of like, oh, they worry about their salvation, or they worry about their faith. And I think hopefully there's encouragement in that. I don't think that's the flip side of it. I think the fear takes over. And I think what our faith is put in, Jesus is the only one, obviously, that is strong enough to handle that.
I think you're 100% correct. Where I will push on you,
okay,
is Jesus asks, "Why do you doubt?" Right. So I don't. He doesn't say, "Why do you fear?"
Yeah.
He says, "Why do you doubt?" I think you're right, and maybe it's a rhetorical. It has to be a rhetorical question, because he didn't go, "Oh, the waves and the wind," right? Like I mean, because he still called out on Jesus.
Right.
So ultimately his faith is in Jesus. The answer has to be because we're human. Here's a rando thought. Back up a few stories. They just got news that John the Baptist was killed. Put that into your church hopper, right? The one that baptized the Messiah, or Jesus, who, I don't know if they've come to that realization yet, was the precursor, the forerunner so he represented Elijah in the natural sense. So they're dealing with the loss. That's not up and to the right. But then they have the feeding of the 5,000, so they see something supernaturally takes place, and now they find themselves in a storm. Why wouldn't they suffer the same fate as John, right? Like, maybe this is it. Maybe the Sea of Galilee is where we go down. Jesus put us out here. Maybe we're done. So why do you doubt? The answer could be because we don't have full knowledge, because we're not God. So maybe maybe a better answer, I just got it, is not because we're human, it's because we're not God. And that's where the I am, I think, probably comes in. So the recognition that there may be times in our life where God will suspend the natural order of things to accomplish and do the things that he needs to do for us. You're still not God.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. We'll be pushing that around for a while.
Yeah. You got over a week to
got over a week to be
think
able to do
about
that.
that
But I mean, man, so the very natural, my heart cries out for folks. You know, I think it is so important to recognize that this particular set of scripture relates to everybody in one of a couple ways. You're either in the storm, coming out of the storm, or going into the storm.
Yeah.
I guess you could be waiting for the storm.
Right.
So it will bear something in your life if you figured out how to be devoid of challenges. Awesome. That's got to be pretty boring.
Yeah.
Life, or maybe you've just figured out how to look at them and process them differently. So in all of it, creating tools around what we believe, where does fear roll in our life? Who is God? Who are we? When the scenario hits where we look out and we see something that looks like a ghost, or let's just call it something that terrifies us in the middle of the storm, rather than being fearful, maybe we can process that. Maybe we can think of it differently, recognize the great I am and all of that.
Yep.
So this is I think it's a super practical message.
I agree. I'm thinking about just the measures of faith, and even in the natural versus the supernatural. But, when Jesus tells us faith as small as a mustard seed can move a mountain. So does he mean that literally? Is it more of a metaphor for us to understand? And I think too, the strength of our faith is not the thing that saves us. It's who we put our faith into that saves us. So even in that, I think there's always a tendency to be like, I need stronger faith, and that's good. Strong faith is great, and I don't think we're saying you shouldn't have a strong faith, but also understanding truly who God is. Like he is the one that carries us through these storms. His presence. Like it's not about how big our faith is at the end of the day. It's he's big enough and strong enough and right enough to carry us through.
There is a God, and it's not me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the main point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good one to end on because it kind of it probably brings all of the things to bear, and the storm sort of compresses it all together. I don't know.
Yeah.
Next series, dude. Did you want to talk anything about that?
Yeah, you want to set it up?
Yeah.
Where we going? You're excited about this one.
It might be my favorite, which I say about every series. The next series, we're doing a deep dive on David, but in a way that I've never seen done before. We're going to take a story of David, and then we're going to find the psalm that correlates with it, and we're going to mash all of that together in 35 minutes or 40 minutes. So the podcast becomes very important because we're going to try and cover as much as we can with all these different topics, but it will be insightful to learn about David. It will also be a worshipful experience because you're going to get the psalm, but then I think you're going to get a richness and a level of detail that will help in life because, like the first one, you've searched me and you know me. When we get to the God doesn't look at the outward appearance, but he looks at the heart. When you get into the nature of what that's like, you wonder about him experiencing that, then him writing that psalm 100% maybe, that he wrote that psalm. You don't know how closely to that moment he wrote it.
Right.
But it's that experience that generates that song, and you get to put them together. And if you're a songwriter, the best songs are the ones that come out of your own personal experience.
Yep.
We're going to be right in the middle of what David was going through. People get frustrated when we get out of the New Testament. This is going to feel like a New Testament connection to God because of the way that David's heart kind of fettered through all of that. But I'm excited about it. That's not to step over the series we're in because it's been a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But the David series, what's it called? It's called David.
Life of David, Part 1.
Life of David, Part 1.
Part 1.
So we got 4 weeks in this one.
4 weeks.
4 weeks in this one, and then we'll pick it up at some point next year, and we'll get into the other part of his life. It's after the big mess up.
He was a complicated fellow.
David was a complicated fellow.
Yeah, but what an epic person and story, and so much too of what we talk about in the fulfillment with Jesus in the New Testament, and understanding the thought of the Jewish nation about David, their king, and the lineage. Obviously, we'll get into all that, but it's a central figure to the whole of faith.
Yeah, to the gospel. Yeah. Sure.
So good, man.
Have fun on your vacation.
Thanks, man. I will. You guys have fun here too. enjoy the slime.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yep.
Pray for the students. By the time you get this, we'll be 4 days in
Yep.
to organized chaos.
Yeah, and just the last shout out too for the kids' baptism bash. coming up
yeah.
The Sunday after VBS.
Yep.
Such a really beautiful service, and kids that have connected to their faith during that week or have just been wanting to go public with that. It's such a cool service. I know Kristen is so excited about that. So if you've got kiddos that have been talking about it, asking about it, we'd love to have you guys connect with that. So
Awesome.
yep.
Love y'all.
See ya.